What's going on, YouTube, fam? It's your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of the Baltimore Way, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. For the day one, fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Oh yeah, feel free to share the channel with your peoples. Everybody is welcome. Let's get right into the story. Sibling rivalries is something I have heard a lot of people talking about. Having a brother or sister they feel like might have been treated better than them growing up, or that their parents hold to a higher standard. Me, myself, have never experienced that because I have 3 sisters, all younger than me. I'm the only boy and had no one to beef with. But I definitely have seen firsthand. Growing up, my homeboys and their brothers get in full-fledged fist fights and say how much they can't stand each other, even though they were living and growing up in the same household. But both will have completely different mindsets and personalities. You would think that's just some kid stuff, and by the time they get grown, it will go away. But that's not always the case. Some of those rivalries can build resentment, trauma, and it's hard for people to let it go. That's why you still see siblings in secret competition with each other as adults, saying who makes the most money, whose house is the biggest, who kids are better behaved, go to better schools. Even when families try to hide it, you can definitely peep when there's an underlying issue going on. And some choose to move far away and won't even talk to their family or siblings if they feel like they are treated differently, or if they feel like they are the black sheep of the family. But these things are typical family issues. Nothing major, right? But sometimes that rivalry spills into hate, and that hate grows into anger. And sometimes one of those individuals will be looking to get that last one up, even if it's the ultimate betrayal. And that could make an already fragile relationship between siblings break, or even worse, turn fatal. And on this episode of the Baltimore Way, we'll be taking it all the way back to 2011 to discuss the case of a sibling rivalry that turned fatal once one started smashing his brother's baby mother. Back in 2011, Cornelius Johnson was navigating life in Baltimore. He lived on Shamrock Avenue in the northeast section of the city. Growing up, the young man's mother or father wasn't together. It's not clear which parent he stayed with, but later on down the line, he would find out he had a half brother, just 1 year older than him, named Andrew. Andrew lived in Glen Burnie, Maryland, and him and Cornelius shared the same mother. They started hanging out with each other around about middle school, but being half brothers, it always was a rivalry there. Who played sports the best, who got the best looking girls, but it seemed to be normal at first. As the two got older, they would sometimes rotate in the same circles, and both would get in minor trouble with the police, but nothing major, just young men trying to find their way. Cornelius would have a son back in 2003 with a young lady who we'll call Ashley. Being a teenager at the time, their relationship wouldn't last long, but they were co-parent, and of course, Andrew knew his nephew and Ashley. But it was all love and family until it wasn't no more. Fast forward back to 2011, the brothers were still always bumping heads. Then Andrew decided to pull an unspoken betrayal. He would double back on his brother's baby mother and started a relationship with Ashley. They at first kept it a secret and tried to hide it from Cornelius, but knowing a lot of the same people, it eventually came out. And people told him, like, yo, your brother cruddy. You know he's smashing your baby mother, right? Cornelius played it off, like, oh yeah, I'm not worried about it. But he called his brother and baby mother Ashley, asking what was up with the rumors. They both stated it is what it is, and they felt Cornelius and Ashley haven't been together for years, so it was cool. But when Cornelius sat down and chopped it up with his father, he zapped out and felt Andrew was dead wrong and crossed the line of no return. On November 13th, 2011, Andrew was in Glen Burnie on Ritchie Highway at Moe's Seafood Factory when somehow, whether coincidence or planned, Cornelius and his father pulled up. Now Andrew 25 and Cornelius 24, their rivalry wasn't between little boys and wasn't cute no more, and lines had been crossed. Cornelius' father asked Andrew while outside the restaurant, like, yo, why would you do that? Why would you lay down with your brother's baby mother? You a clown for that. But Andrew wasn't a sucker, and he held his ground. But the conversation quickly got heated, and this is where things start to get tricky. Some say Cornelius and his father were the aggressors and came to the restaurant to confront Andrew, but others say Andrew was the aggressor. But after things got physical, shots went off and people scattered. In the mix of all this, people at the restaurant realized Andrew had been shot once in the back. They called local police, who responded to the location to unfortunately find Andrew already gone at the scene. They talked to witnesses who stated the man was fighting with his brother and his brother's father. They stated that's when his brother upped the gun and shot. Police got surveillance footage from the restaurant. It showed video of the men pulling up, even a little bit of the argument, but it never caught the shooting. Either way, a warrant was put out for Cornelius on first-degree hit. A few days later, already having a previous charge in Baltimore County, unaware of his new warrant, he went to Towson to turn himself in to serve a little 4-day sentence. When they told him he was wanted in connection to a homicide in Glen Burnie, he would be questioned about the incident, and he admitted to shooting his brother, but he claimed it was all in self-defense after Andrew put hands on his father. He admitted they asked him about his relationship with Ashley, but denied that was the reason he shot his brother. With that confession, he was charged with the slaying of Andrew. As the case made its way to court, both of the young men's mother agreed they had a bad sibling rivalry going on since they were younger, but she didn't know it would go that far. Cornelius' lawyer argued the young man shot in self-defense because his father was being attacked. Since the state couldn't prove otherwise, his charges would be dropped to the lesser of manslaughter, and Cornelius was sentenced to 9 years in prison. Rest in peace to Andrew. I send my prayers and condolences to the family. This is a wild situation. It's crazy because I know two brothers who actually share the same baby mother, and I used to think to myself, how does that work? But I'm gonna leave this one open for y'all to share y'all thoughts and opinions on the situation. And have you yourself, or do you now, experience sibling rivalry or some kind of competition with your brothers and sisters? If so, how do you deal with it? Let me know in the comments. Yeah, man, this is a crazy situation. I ain't gonna go too much more into it, but y'all definitely let me know what y'all think. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. This is another episode of the Baltimore Way. It's your boy Tony 2 times. Love, fam. I'm out. What's going on, YouTube, fam? It's your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of the Baltimore Way, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. For the day one, fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you're feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Oh yeah, feel free to share the channel with your peoples. Everybody is welcome. Let's get right into the story. When most people get older, their lives become more laid back. You might focus more on work, family, and creating a comfortable home so you can close your door at night and you and your family can have peace. But that doesn't mean you don't want to enjoy yourself and have a little bit of fun every now and again. No matter how old we get, we still want to throw on a nice outfit, hit the town on a nice night, grab a few drinks, and just kick back. Some people move around with friends. That way, they have each other's back. A designated driver in case the drinks hit a little bit too hard. They might even have somebody with them. They got the blick ducked off somewhere just in case things get crazy. But some people choose to move alone. They might go to a lounge by themselves, listen to some music, and possibly even meet someone while they are there. Usually people know the spots that's safe and the ones that's not right. But either way, the goal is to have a little bit of fun and make it home safely. But most of us don't think about other people while we are out on the town enjoying ourselves. It could be hungry wolves lurking, plotting, searching for a come up, an easy target. And unfortunately, sometimes a normal thing like a night on the town can take a deadly turn. And on this episode of the Baltimore Way, we'll be discussing a case of a man's night out that turned to a setup plot and a home invasion. Back in 2024, 47-year-old David Winchester Jr. was navigating life in Baltimore. The hard-working family man came from a big family, with 15 siblings, 10 kids himself, and 6 grandkids. So most of his free time was spent with loved ones. But every now and again, David would get fresh and slide out to a lounge or club in the city. On March 28th, 2024, this was one of them nights for David. He decided he would roll out dolo and hit the Safari nightclub located on O'Donnell Street. Once he pulled up, everything seemed cool. Also at the location that night were 4 people. 34-year-old Marquise Mayo, his sister, 36-year-old Monet Fincher, his homeboy and sister's ex-husband, 35-year-old Jamal Fincher, and Jamal's girlfriend at the time, a young woman named Pam. Somewhere in the mix, Monet went over and introduced herself to David. Little did he know with the goal of getting the man outside of the club. Thinking it was going to be one of those lucky nights, he took the bait. As the two walked to the parking lot, they were chopping it up when Marquise and Jamal popped out the cut, guns in hand, and forced David into the trunk of the car. As they all rode around, the plot turned from a simple robbery to them beating on a man trying to get information where he laid his head at so they could hit the whole house. After minutes of being beat, he gave them his mother's address in Southwest Baltimore, hoping when they pulled up, she would call the police. The woman in the car, Marquise and Jamal, also with David in the trunk, pulled up to the address. Marquise and Jamal, strapped up with a handgun and rifle, walked on the porch and tapped on the door a little bit after 1 a.m. In the house at the time was David's mother, one of his sisters, and her 1-year-old baby. His mother heard the knocks and cracked the door before noticing one of the men had a gun. Then the two forced their way in the house, holding David's mother at gunpoint. They demanded money, telling her they had David, as she pleaded and told them she didn't have anything but a jar with a few $2 bills and coins in it. David's sister, hearing the commotion, ran out the room. Seeing the gun pointed at her mother's head in the attempt to scare off the intruders, she yelled out, "I'm going to get my brothers." That's when Jamal allegedly chased her with a rifle, but she was able to lock herself in a room with her baby. He attempted to get in, and out of frustration, let off 2 shots at the door. After realizing the gunshots was making the situation hot, the men ran back to the car and pulled off with David still in the trunk. They headed to the state's capital, Annapolis, Maryland, and pulled up to Bates Middle School. They forced David to get out the trunk. He was walked to a wooded area, and seconds later, 2 shots went off, and the car fled the scene. Back in Baltimore, his mother had called BPD to report her son had been kidnapped, and the men ran in her home demanding money. She stated it looked like they were driving a blue car. Around about 7 a.m., a man was walking by the middle school in Annapolis, smoking, when he noticed the man laying in the grass. He immediately called local police, who responded to the scene to find a man suffering from 2 gunshot wounds to the back of his head, execution style. He was unfortunately identified as missing Baltimore man David. Neighbors claimed they heard 2 loud pops around 2:30 a.m. After that, they heard tires burning out. Local police, through traffic cameras, were able to see the vehicle identified as a blue Eclipse. And with the tag reader technology, they got a hit of the owner, Monet Fincher. She was soon located in Baltimore and asked why was her vehicle pointed to in a home invasion and a homicide. That was enough for her to break, stating her brother, her ex-husband, and his girlfriend went out to a club and found the man to rob, which their vic would be David. The men were quickly located, also Jamal's girlfriend Pam, and taken into custody, charged with kidnapping, home invasion, robbery, and first-degree hit. Since the shooting happened in Annapolis, they will all face an Anne Arundel County judge. As David's family received the news, they were hurt that the father and family man was gone. They all stated he didn't bother no one and he was just out trying to enjoy himself. It wouldn't take long for the 4 people involved to start pointing the fingers at each other. Pam's charges would eventually be dropped. As she stated, she was out on what was supposed to be a date with Jamal. She didn't know the other 3 were planning a robbery. She would be the state's key witness and go into the witness protection program pending trial in exchange for her testimony. Monet, Marquis' sister, was pointing to him as the shooter, who fired the fatal shots. As the case started making its way to trial, Marquise was the first name to pop up on the docket. As David's family filled the courtroom, his attorney argued his sister and Pam, as Pam, who was being taken care of by the state, was using the man as a scapegoat. As it was stated, they targeted David, but it wasn't supposed to go that far. Just a robbery outside the club. With testimony, he was found guilty on all charges and is awaiting sentencing for April of this year. Jamar and Monet are still waiting for their day in court. And if they don't cop out, both trial dates will be coming up this year as well. All the charges against Pam were dropped, and she is currently in witness protection. Rest in peace to David. I send my prayers and condolences to his family. I'm sure he didn't expect his night to end like that at all. All because he went out and spoke to a woman who was with some dudes looking for a come up. My thing is, you target a man because what you think he got. Beat him for an address, go to his mother's house, adding more charges, then realizing the family had no money, drive him to a whole nother county and take his life. That was a dummy mission from the jump. There's no way possible they thought they weren't going to get caught. Not trying to be funny and condone crime, but if they had that kind of heart, they might as well ran up on a bank. They would have had better chances. But I'm going to leave this one open. Y'all let me know what y'all think about the situation in the comments. Yeah, man, crazy story. Rest in peace to David. I send my prayers and condolences to his family. But I ain't gonna talk too much more about this one. This is another episode of the Baltimore Way. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. It's your boy Tony 2 times. Love, fam. I'm out.
It's your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 times. And I'm back with another episode of the Baltimore Way. In this video, I'll be discussing the recent case of a viral video that showed a woman taking another woman's life in broad daylight, possibly over a man. But before we get into this video, I'd like to say thank you, fam, for all of your continuous support. If you'd like to support the channel monetarily, you can find the information on the screen. And to support us for absolutely no cost, please hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and join the Tony 2 times family. Tap that notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. And of course, feel free to share this video with everyone you know. Also, if you'd like to see more episodes of the Baltimore Way, please click the link to the playlist in the description box after this video to get caught up. Everything in this video is alleged. All right, let's get into it. On March 18th, a Tuesday afternoon, on the 700 block of East Preston Street, chaos erupted as a confrontation between 31-year-old Shakima Turner and 26-year-old Unique Thorne escalated into the streets. A video of the incident was uploaded to social media and subsequently went viral in the following hours for the world to see. In the video, it shows an armed woman in a green shirt, identified as Unique, running towards another woman identified as Shakima, standing on the corner. Some of the bystanders encourage and cheer on Unique as she bolts towards Shakima with a firearm in hand. Moments later, gunfire erupted. Shakima collapsed on the curb, suffering from a shot to the chest. The person recording the incident suddenly stopped instigating and yelled out, "Oh my God, oh my God."
Oh my God! Oh my God!
The crowd, including Unique, dispersed and ran away from where Shakima laid lifeless. This 911 dispatch audio details the scene as BPD responded to the incident on East Preston and Greenmount just before 6 p.m.
Yeah, we have someone down underneath the camera. Greenmount person.
She had one shoot to her chest.
You said one to the head?
Chest.
Upon arrival, law enforcement found Shakima on the corner. They attempted CPR before she was transported to the hospital, where she was later pronounced gone. Many questions still remain about what led up to this tragedy. Some say it was over a man. According to this witness who spoke to reporters, it didn't have to go this far. From my research, it appears that Unique had been married since 2023 and recently had a baby towards the later half of 2024. Shaikima, affectionately known as Kima or Kay, was also a mother of 2 children, a daughter and a son. Allegations circulating on social media state that Shaikima sadly may have been the initial aggressor in the situation that day. This commenter had this to say on a reshared post referring to Unique's alleged actions. Well, she did get stabbed and harassed for days, windows bust out with a newborn baby, and glass hit her baby and kids. This is not just a one-day thing. I know people who know them, she snapped. The witness who spoke to reporters after the shooting told them about people banging and kicking on their neighbor's door, saying they wanted to fight.
They went to my neighbor's house, banging, kicking on the door, saying, "Come outside, we want to fight, we want to fight."
They went on to say how the firearm was possibly obtained, saying the lady reached into her purse and detailing the chaos thereafter.
He grabbed her purse, chased her down the street, shot him. Wow.
BPD released little to no details about the investigation, except for their awareness of the video circulating online. The search for the suspect, Unique Thorne, began. The wife and mother was now a wanted fugitive. Weeks went by before law enforcement announced that Unique had been captured over 300 miles away in Massillon, Ohio. She was arrested without incident on the morning of April 3rd at a house in the 1700 block of Alpha Street Northwest. She was booked into the Stark County Jail and is currently awaiting extradition back to Baltimore, where she faces charges of first-degree murder. Unique Thorne is innocent until proven guilty. May Shaikima Turner rest in peace. My condolences to her family. I send them my well wishes during this difficult time. Shaikima's family had started a GoFundMe to help with expenses and contributions for her 2 young children who are now without their mother. I'll leave the link to it in the description box if you feel inclined to donate. Regardless of the alleged circumstances surrounding this tragic incident, Shaikima's life was snatched from her, and her children will never get to see her again. My heart breaks for them. Unique will soon have her day in court and will probably not get to witness her baby say their first words or take their first step. If she was indeed being antagonized and harassed, placing herself and her children in danger, she may have in the moment truly snapped. It's no telling how far a person is willing to go to protect themselves or loved ones. However, she now has to live with that decision and face those consequences. And those consequences won't only affect her, but everyone around her. If Shaikima was the initial aggressor, then unfortunately, she may have put herself in this situation without thinking things would go this far or that it would cost her life. It appeared that she tried to retreat, but sadly, emotions were still high and there was a lot of instigating going on that resulted in her demise. The people cheering in the background was sinister to say the least, and then when Unique allegedly followed through, they acted shocked and ran away. I don't know if some people can ever escape this kind of mindset, and not by their own fault, but by how and where they were raised. While this kind of behavior may seem abnormal to others, it is very normal to some. We should love one another as we love ourselves, but if we don't love ourselves, how can we love others? And while it may be easy to pass judgment, We should reach for a level of understanding when we witness such things. Because just because someone is bad does not imply that you are good. But fam, I'm going to leave the rest up to you. Let me know your thoughts on this situation in the comments below. All right, fam, that's it for this episode of the Baltimore Way. Thank you all so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This is your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 times. Until next time.
What's going on, YouTube, fam? It's your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of the Baltimore Way, man. Before I start, I want to say I hope all is well with everybody out there, and y'all enjoying y'all holiday. With that, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. For the day one, fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Oh yeah, feel free to share the channel with your peoples. Everybody is welcome. Let's get right into the story. As adults, most people have a social circle. Friends or associates they see and rotate with on a regular basis. Whether it be co-workers from the job or people you meet on this journey we call life. Everybody wants to feel like they have someone they could call, maybe go out, have a few drinks with, or vent to about everyday situations. Sometimes people build a lifelong bond with each other and build a level of trust even if the person you call friend is of the opposite sex. A lot of times, males and females feel like I'd rather kick it with the opposite than to be around a bunch of dudes all day if you are a man, and females if you are a woman. It doesn't have to be a title on it, like boyfriend and girlfriend. Both parties involved understand what's going on, even if they decide to be intimate from time to time. That's just what grown-ups do. But of course, it's way easier to call somebody a friend that you haven't chose to lay down with. But with linking up on that level, whether people admit it or not, feelings will evolve. And that's when things can get tricky. Now your so-called friend wants to know where you at, who you with, to the point it's almost like a relationship. At that point, it's almost easier to be a couple. Because at least you can say, all right, this not working, I'm gonna go my separate way. But people often feel like it's better to have a little link up buddy. It's less stress, less drama, and besides, y'all are just friends, right? But we never think how putting our trust in someone on that level can backfire real quick. And when signals get crossed, somebody can get hurt. And on this episode of the Baltimore Way, we'll be discussing a case of a late night link up between friends that went left. Back in March of this year, 35-year-old Lenora Austin was a woman navigating life in Baltimore. Described as strong and resilient, the small lady struggled with sickle cell but never let it stop her from shaking and baking in life. Lenora was an armed security guard by profession and worked hard to make an honest living. In her spare time, she had a male friend she would often kick it with. At the time, 30-year-old Reginald Pay. Reginald had a little bit of a past, mostly for carrying guns, which in a city like Baltimore is not uncommon, whether licensed or not, for some to feel safe. Some described him and Lenora as friends. Others on again, off again, girlfriend and boyfriend. Either way, they bond seemed solid. They would often spend time together, smoking, riding through the city, even going out. On March 14th of this year, Lenora was at her mother's house in the 1000 block of North Fulton Avenue. Earlier that day, the two friends had gotten into an argument for unknown reasons. They went back and forth and they both were mad. But later on that night, Lenora decided she would let it go because she wanted to kick it with Reginald. She texted her friend asking did he want to link up and smoke. And if so, she stated he could meet her at her mother's house. She sent him the address and Reginald agreed. He hopped in his whip and headed to the location. By this time, it was after midnight on March 15th. When he pulled up, he let her know he was outside and she walked to the car. She got in and the two talked for a minute. While sitting in the whip though, another disagreement happened. Lenora, being a short and small woman in size, kept her registered gun on her at all times, but only for her job. Reginald, already knowing this, allegedly took the gun from her during the argument. She tried to get out the car and go in the house, but a shot went off. A brief pause, then 9 more shots before the car sped off. BPD was called to the location for shots fired at 2 a.m. When they arrived, they found Lenora laying in the street, suffering from multiple gunshot wounds, and unfortunately, she was pronounced gone. On the scene was her cell phone, in which police saw her last calls and text messages was to a person nicknamed Ratchet. Also on the block was a camera that caught the whole incident. Police linked the phone number from Ratchet, checked social media, and it came back registered to Reginald. Police got a warrant for his phone records, and it showed he was in the location at the time of the shooting. 13 hours later, Reginald was over east in the 2300 block of East North Avenue when police hopped out on him. He tried to take off on feet and threw a gun, trying to get away, but he was caught and taken into custody for questioning. Already being a felon in possession of a gun, he was already now facing charges. The gun wasn't the one used on Lenora though, but Reginald had keys in his pocket to the same kind of car that was seen on video fleeing the scene. When questioned, he admitted to his nickname being Ratchet, and even that he was with Lenora the morning of the shooting, but at first, he never claimed to be the shooter. With evidence though, Reginald was still taken into custody, charged with first-degree murder and handgun violations. As police got the video, it showed what seemed to be a struggle inside of the car. Before Lenora got out, then Reginald could be seen shooting her one time, and as she fell, shooting 9 more times before driving off. As her family got the news, they were devastated and described the man as her friend and someone she really trusted. During his bail hearing, prosecutors argued Reginald was a threat to society and wasn't even supposed to be in the streets free at the time. Since in April of 2021, he pled guilty to his second gun charge in Harford County and was sentenced to 15 years in prison with 5 suspended, meaning his 10-year sentence was still supposed to be going on. As the case got ready for trial, Reginald finally admitted to being the one who shot Lenora. Him and his attorney argued it was all in self-defense as he was in fear for his life. They said the friends got into a disagreement earlier that day, and once he saw Lenora's gun, he thought she was going to grab it, so he took it before she had a chance to use it. Reginald also stated he really didn't know the young lady like that, stating they only linked up a few times to smoke, and they tried to paint the woman as having a pill habit and being unpredictable. But prosecutors claimed messages between the two showed there was way more than that. They were close, to the point she trusted him. They asked how could a small sick woman overpower a man. Then they pointed to the video that showed she tried to leave the vehicle before Reginald shot. Then the question was asked if he was scared, why did he shoot her 8 times before driving off? In the end, with surveillance footage and text messages, Reginald was found guilty on all charges and is scheduled to be sentenced in February of next year. It was never determined what the argument was about between the two, but during trial, Reginald was described as a friend, but more importantly, Lenora's on-again and off-again boyfriend. Rest in peace to Lenora. I send my prayers and condolences to her family. In life, people want friends or some kind of companionship, but we never think the company we keep or the people we let in will be the ones to take our life. Trust is something people like to say you gotta earn, but even if somebody earns your trust, you gotta question it still. Is it real or not? Because hidden agendas or a fallout could dictate to a person snapping and revealing how they really feel. And all that friendship and trust goes out the window. But I'm gonna leave this one open for discussion. Let me know what y'all think about the situation and what took place in the car. Self-defense or relationship gone bad? Leave it in the comments. Yeah, man, crazy story. Rest in peace to Lenora. I send my prayers and condolences to her family. But I ain't gonna talk too much more about this one. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. This is another episode of the Baltimore Way. Y'all already know it's all love, fam. It's your boy Tony 2 times. I'm out.